Hey guys, what's happening? This is Forgo Nation, and today we're going to talk about Sunbird. Got this guy to tier 2, and he looks fantastic. Look at this Malaysian pirate. Man, look at those swords. Good God, man. Now, a lot of people have been kind of dogging on those Sunbird, saying he's not that good, especially for a paywall, and I have to say that yeah, I do think he should be better. But is he a bad character? No, he's actually a pretty good character, but there are some caveats to him. It's not like... He definitely feels... Well, he feels a lot like War Tiger and Shadow Shell. He feels incomplete. He feels like he needs a little bit more, you know? He's not quite all there, but he looks freaking awesome. So, let's take a look at his build, guys. He has 15,500 physical attack, which is very low. Speed type's pretty normal for them. He has max attack speed, 29 crit rate, which is very low. He has 171 critical damage, which is not, that's not really that great. And he has max ignore defense and max skill cooldown. Take a look at his gears. You guys know how I always like to do it. No Urus, all 20, level 20 gears. And let's take a look at his tier 2 passive. Increase guaranteed dodge rate by 30%. Nice. Little extra survivability. Increases fire damage by 20%. Very nice. And this is really awesome in his kit. He gets a 25% chance to increase critical damage by 100% on critical attacks. So you have a 25% chance of when you're doing critical hits to get an extra 100% critical damage, similar to Namor and Victorious, which is awesome. So if you have max critical damage, which is 200%, you're going to get 300% critical damage. So really, I think you should probably have some extra crit rate on his obelisk. I think that would really help him a lot because he's going to crit more often, and then he's going to get this passive. He'll have a better chance of getting this passive. So yeah. So I might interchange his build later, and you guys will see why in a second. But one skill, bleed. Who cares? The second skill has a fire resistance down, it stacks up to 30%, lasts for 4 seconds, and gives him a 5% recovery of max HP. It's nice that he's got a recovery, but honestly, it's nothing. 5% recovery isn't much. He has low stats to begin with, so this really, you guys are going to see in the gameplay that you still need, well, maybe you don't absolutely need, but it's a whole lot easier if you just bring in anti-venom or some kind of healing striker to heal him, because this just really isn't enough. And this is one of the reasons I say he feels a bit incomplete. Like, this should be, honestly guys, like with his stats, this should be a 20% recovery of max HP. At least, even a 10% wouldn't be enough. So yeah, maybe you want to give him some max HP with fire damage to increase his HP. That way when he heals for more. So yeah. His third skill, stun, okay, good for Shadowland. His 4-star passive, this is excellent. Applies to Warriors of the Sky, revive with 50% of max HP, and this works for all the characters on your team, including himself, which is nice. He gets a revive with 50% of his life. This is an amazing passive, and he does need it. And the 4th skill, it gives him paralysis, which applies to all world bosses. It has ignore immunity. It lasts for 2 seconds. This is amazing. Great skill. Great skill. And then the 5th skill gives him a fire resistance down that stacks up to 40%. And this lasts for 6 seconds and has a 6-second invincibility, so he won't get guard broken. And it's really, really nice. Now the thing about the 5th skill is it's on a 9-second cooldown. And the 4th skill is on a 7-second cooldown. And that's important because in the rotation, what you're trying to do is you're trying to hit the 4 and then cancel into the 5. We'll take a look at it in a sec. And then his leadership, increase all speed. Typical speed character leadership, which is kind of useless to be honest, guys. So let's look at his 5th skill. Really cool looking 5th skill. I really love it. I mean, all the Warriors of the Sky have great animations. But if you guys notice, his fire resistance down comes at the very end. Look at this. And boom, there it is. It comes at the end of the skill. One thing that would make him a whole lot better is if you got that at the beginning of the skill. Man, that would make a massive difference in his damage. It would help him so much. And then the 4th skill. Boom. Great skill, nice live frame, applies that paralysis, which is great. So in the rotation, guys, you want to hit your 4 and then cancel into your 5. And you'll see that 4's damage carries on. See that giant flaming burst shooting up into the sky? It actually carries on. You know, you'll still get the residual damage from the 4. So you're combining those two skills and trying to get the damage proc on the 5th skill. So you see the 4 here, and there's that blast, and it carries on. So yeah, it's great. And then while your invincibility is still up from your 5th skill, because you get 6-second invincibility, you'll hit your 2, get your heal, apply that fire resistance down. You got to wait for the little blast to hit the opponents. And then when it applies, when you have about 4 or 5 seconds left on the 5th skill, you'll hit your 3rd skill. Let's look at the 1 skill for fun. We're not going to be using that at all. Pretty much leaves you vulnerable. Too bad that bleed damage is useless in this game. Unless you're a world boss, then it's freaking massive. So it's just 4, 5, damage proc on the 5. Let that damage proc play out a little bit. Then hit your 2 skill, get your heal, get your fire resistance down, then hit your 3 when there's about 5 or 4 seconds left on the 5th skill. And that works out pretty freaking awesome, guys. So he has the Stage 6 Power of Angry Hawk set, which I would recommend. Actually, I'd recommend Power of Angry Hawk for all the Warriors of the Sky. And then I have a really good obelisk on him, a critical damage with fire damage, and a 200% damage proc. And I mentioned earlier that really, I think it would be better to have crit rate. This guy, because of that passive that he has, if you're crit hitting more often, which having extra crit rate is going to help, you know, if you max out your crit rate, you will be able to you'll be able to get that extra 100% critical damage more often because you'll be crit hitting more often. So I'm actually thinking about trying to get a crit rate with fire damage. I think he would benefit a lot more. Too bad he doesn't have a uniform, because then he'd really benefit a lot more, because then he could max out his critical damage and crit rate. But another thing about him is he doesn't have any crit rate buffs. He doesn't really get like the buffs that the other characters get, you know. War Tiger, Shadow Shell, and Blue Dragon all get crit rate buffs. I wish this guy did. That's another reason he feels, and it sucks because he's a paywall. Like, I realize we get bios from the event, but you don't get enough to tier 2 him. So you're still going to have to purchase him to probably get those bios. So yeah, it kind of sucks. And you guys are going to see that, you know, we have a 200% damage proc. The rest of his build is pretty much crap, but this is a good obelisk. Another thing to mention is it sucks that he's an elemental character, but he deals physical attack. So he's not very good for Ebony at all because of that. And that kind of sucks to see an elemental character not be good for Ebony. But to be fair, we got a ton of characters that are good for Ebony, so it's not a massive deal. So guys, let's get into the action and let's rock and roll. So in our first run, we're just going to use Anti-Venom and Rachel. We're not going to have no all defense down this way, and we're going to use Rachel just to lock down Proxima a little, because you like to jump around a lot. And there you guys see me hit the 4 or 5. And this is a stage 45. We are using Ghost Panther. And Ghost Panther offers an extra 15% crit rate, which is really going to help trigger that 25% chance of getting that 100% critical damage proc. It's also going to give Sunbird extra 50% fire damage and 30% fire damage from Ghost Panther's leadership, plus the 45% damage of supervillains and the 45% damage of supervillains from Shuri. And I'm using Shuri because she also offers that 35% decreased damage received. I mean, he's a pretty fragile character. That's one thing bad about him. I mean, yeah, he's got a revive, but he dies so easy. That poison, oh my god, it is his Achilles heel. It destroys him. Destroys him. I mean, especially if you get snared and you're lying in that poison, oh my god, you'll freaking die. And yeah, you'll get a revive, but he'll just die again from that. I mean, that's why I say that heal on his second skill needs to be better. Or maybe, you know, give him some max HP with fire damage obelisk to give him more HP, so that way when he heals, he'll heal for more. You know, that would help him a lot. But if you bring in Anti-Venom, you'll get some heals, so it's not really that bad. Now, there is a caveat to having anti-venom, and that's when you're using all the other strikers. And I'll explain that when we get to that, guys. Because, I want to test this without any OP strikers, without any all defense down strikers, to see how strong he is. Stage 45, I mean, when we did War Tiger, we did stage 40, and we didn't have as good a leadership. We were just using Beast leadership, which offers 50% physical attack. Ghost Panther's leadership gives Sunbird a much higher buff compared to Beast for War Tiger. So we're going to pause it at 3 minutes. Boom. So you guys can clearly see that we got down to almost the 8th bar with this team, with, the strikers that we're using, which isn't bad, but honestly, it puts him close to the same damage level as War Tiger, which is kind of disappointing considering that he's a paywall. So let's move on to the next run. So now we're going to kind of go all out, guys. We're going to use the exact same team, and we're going to use our OP strikers. And this is a stage 60 Proxima. And he's a level 60 character, and again, he's just got, he does have a good obelisk, but he doesn't have any Urus. I mean, it's not terrible by any means, and we're using Scarlet, of course, for our crowd control, and we're using Weapon Hex and Sue Storm and Silver Surfer, the same typical strikers. The only difference is we're using Anti-Venom instead of Thanos, and I explained why we're using Anti-Venom, and that's because Sunbird he's very fragile. He needs heals. Even though he has a recovery, even though he has a revive, he really needs those heals. And the thing about having anti-venom that kind of sucks when you're using all these strikers in there. I just died. Luckily, we got a revive. And that's what I'm talking about, guys. It don't take much. But the thing is, anti-venom strikes when you're attacking. And so does Sue, and so does Weapon Hex, and so does Scarlet. So that's 4 strikers that attack when you're attacking. Well, the thing about that is only 3 strikers will come out at any given moment. Only 3. So what's happening is Weapon Hex or Sue, one of those all defense down strikers isn't coming in as often as they normally would if you were using Thanos instead of anti-venom, because Thanos only strikes when you're being attacked. I mean, so that's kind of another caveat to him, that, as far as the strikers, it kind of hurts them a little bit because you got to bring anti-venom in there. So you're not bringing in your all defense down strikers as often as you normally would. But, I mean, he's easy to play, guys. I will say the force skill sometimes triggers the proc, so you really got to get good at that timing. But for the most part, we're keeping the proc exactly where we want it. I mean, he would be pretty safe to play if he had a better heal. Something else that would help is kind of the same thing I said about War Tiger. This guy's got invincibility. So if he had like a damage accumulation proportional to the damage that he deals, so based on how much damage you deal, oh my god, he would be so much better. So a better heal, damage accumulation, those 2 things alone would make this guy so much better. It wouldn't break the game. Yeah. I mean, he's doing really good, guys. I mean, right now we're doing really good. We did die, but we had that revive, which is pretty sweet. But look at the damage that he's taking. Notice whenever I'm sitting in that those toxic meteorites, that poison, notice how much damage you take. It just drains him super fast. I mean, especially when you get freaking snared. I mean, when you get snared, there's nothing you can do. And if that poison gets underneath you, it's just going to start killing you and murdering your butt. I mean, it's not terrible. It's just when it comes to paywalls, you expect more. I do like Sunbird. I think he's an awesome looking character. I love the mythos behind him. I mean, he's cool. But unfortunately, I think for a lot of players, he's just going to be a Shadowland character. I don't think, that passive that he's got for the reviving all the Warriors of the Sky, that's cool and all. But honestly, I don't think any of the Warriors of the Sky are going to be OP in PvP. I just don't think so. So it's kind of, I mean, unless it's an AC, which most people don't even play, it's kind of useless for most players. I mean, it's useful, like in this situation where you just have Sunbird and he dies and he comes back. I mean, yeah, that's useful, but applying to the other Warriors of Sky, it's not. And another reason it's not is because in World Boss, you're going to be using other support characters. Instead of Sunbird, you'd rather have Shuri or Nick Fury or whoever, or White Fox for a Blue Dragon. So yeah, I mean that's just I mean there are some niche moments that it would come in handy, but for the most part I can tell you for a player like me, guys, it's really not going to help. Except for when we're facing world boss, and honestly I would just use other characters instead of Sunbird. But he is fun. I do enjoy playing him. Again, I think his animations are pretty cool. Not as cool as like the other characters' animations. I do think his are about the same as War Tiger's, maybe better, but that's just, my opinion, guys. But he's pretty easy to play. I mean, if you got those heals in there, he's pretty easy to play. And you definitely want to have some crowd control because, like I said, guys, he can't take a lot of damage. He cannot. So that's why I say he just feels incomplete. He needs a better heal. He needs damage accumulation. Yeah. And honestly, that fire resistance down, that 5th skill should apply at the beginning of the skill and not at the end. Honestly, guys, because of the way he's set up with his cooldowns, I honestly think a CTP of Judgment or of Rage would be a lot better for this guy, which is kind of sad to say, and we say that about a lot of characters. Oh, we got some crystals. Okay, cool. So guys, let me know what you think about Sunbird. Personally, I think he needs a little bit more love. He's not quite there, but I do enjoy the character. So I hope you enjoyed the video. Thank you for watching. Y'all take care and have a good one.